Hello, hello. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Outside the Box. It is me, Sage the Coach, and today I have with me, I don't know if you guys seen in the past that I've had my daughter. I think you was only on one show before, right, Sequoia?
I think it was one, maybe two, but I think two.
Okay. So yeah, so sometimes I have my daughter with me, and she's here today. She's my eldest daughter, and we're just gonna have a conversation today. So for the past few weeks, and probably for like a month now, I've been doing a lot of interviews. And so today there's no interview, much more laid back conversation, and we're going to be talking about the Olympics. And so I'll get into that in a minute. But one thing, what I wanted to say is for those of you, if it's your first time watching um, my show usually airs on Monday nights from 7 p.m. And my show is called Outside the Box because I like to reveal that God is bigger than our boxes. And I do a lot of that with the interview. Even with the Olympics today, as we talk about it, I will probably, in some instances, reveal like a more spiritual perspective on some things because that just naturally kind of comes out of me. And then I also want to remind you guys too that if you're watching this video on the Speakeasy page, or the Speakeasy Facebook or YouTube page, you can also sign up to follow and like my own personal page, my own personal pages for this show. So outside the box, I have my own Facebook page, I have my own Instagram page, I also have my own YouTube page. And on those pages you can get a little bit more information about what's coming up, if I have any special things going on. And sometimes I like to post different questions and quotes and things like that just to get people's or keep people's spiritual wheels churning kind of throughout the week. And so you guys make sure you like and share my page and things like that. Um, so another thing that I wanted to touch on before we get into the conversation is for those of you who have been following my page or already on my page, and don't forget to like and share my page with your friends. I'm really trying to build up my viewership. Again, I have a positive message. I'm trying to encourage people, uplift people, enlighten people. And so the more people that I can get out there to do that with, that's the best. So enough of that. But on my page this past week, I posted a video of a mentoring coaching group that is coming up. So again, if you have been following me, if this is your not your first time following me and you've seen some past shows, you might have seen that I did two shows with a pastor. I'm sorry, Reverend Dr. James Tan or Dr. Reverend James Tan, however you want to say it. He has so many degrees and titles that it's kind of confusing to keep up with them all. But we did a couple of shows. He had a book come out. We talked about his book, which was called Releasing the Miraculous, Walking in All Nine Gifts of the Holy Spirit. And then we also did a relationship topic show about understanding and overcoming loneliness. So if you're interested in any of those shows, you can go back on my page. They're a little bit easier to find on my social media pages than it is to find on the Speakeasy page because they have a lot of videos there from the other shows throughout the rest of the week. But if you go look on, you can watch any of those shows. But so Dr. Tan and I are working together to release a mentoring group or to start a mentoring group, and that group starts on the 23rd. There's a promo or ad for it within my page's post, and you can look it up and find the link there to register for that group. Dr. Tan is amazing when it comes to inspiring, giving guidance, especially deep insight when it comes to biblical principles and truths. And so, if you guys are interested in anything like that, I am interested in it, even though I am still a life coach because, life is confusing, life is hard, life is difficult, especially when you're trying to accomplish something. And having someone to give you guidance and insight and feedback is very, very valuable. And so I'm looking forward to the group, and I hope if anybody's watching that needs anything like that, I hope you guys will go ahead and sign up. And again, you can find the link to the registration page on my outside the box Facebook page, Instagram page, the Speakeasy page. You can find those things there. So that's another thing I wanted to throw in there. I might mention it again before we jump off, just in case there are more people watching and they didn't get the first part of the show. So, really quickly, I just want to make sure I am sharing this video on all the different platforms that I want to share it on. So if you guys can give me just a moment to do that, I would appreciate it. Um, Copy. It's funny because whenever I'm trying to do stuff on my phone when I'm on live, it's exceptionally more difficult than when I'm not trying to do something. But I'm actually getting it done pretty fast this time, so that's good. Uh, Okay, it's posted. Okay, and so before we get into the conversation one more time, I am Sage the coach, and I am not a coach because I coach basketball or any type of sports. I am a certified life and relationship coach, and I do those things from a biblical perspective. And I usually bring that point of view to everything that I do because it's not just a career; it's who I am. So what we're going to talk about today, again, is just much more laid back atmosphere with my eldest child, Sequoia. We're going to be talking about the Olympics. Me and Sequoia talk about the Olympics. We have talked about the Olympics a lot, and we have some interesting discussions. Well, we always have interesting discussions, don't we, Sequoia? Especially for mother and daughter, I think we have good discussions. I know that when I was your age, I was not able to talk to my mother the way me and you are able to talk to each other. Of course, there are some bumps in the road. It's not always perfect, but we do have some very, very interesting conversations. And I was thinking the other day, Sequoia, that it will be interesting as you get older and the other kids get older when we are all able to have these kind of conversations
Right.
together. That would be really cool. But anyway, so we talked about the Olympics and we had some, interesting stuff to share. And I thought that it would be good to kind of share these things with other people because I know we're not the only one thinking them, or not the only people interested in having these kind of discussions. And so we want to talk about the Olympics. I guess the first thing with the Olympics is there's a lot of stuff that's kind of went on with the Olympics. Just one moment. I am okay. There we go. So the first thing is I watch the Olympics, and so I guess the first question is, do you watch the Olympics? Like there are some people that never watch the Olympics; they can care less about the Olympics. There are some people who they would catch it if they could, but if they don't, it's not a big deal. I know, especially for my kids, it's like my daughter Sequoia. You guys were kind of young. You might have saw me watching the Olympics, but this is your first time kind of being able to tune into it without me. So, did you even watch the Olympics, or how do you feel about the Olympics in general?
I didn't sit and watch it. Like I remember we did the last time it came around when I was at home. I did tune in to specific events that I like. But because I have Instagram and I didn't when I was at home, I could always watch the little Olympics will put out a little clip of something and I'll look at that. Or on Snapchat they'll have somebody will be reporting on and I'll go read the article. So I just was catching little bits and pieces of stuff as opposed to sitting and watching the whole event. I don't watch TV that often. I mean, that's surprising. We didn't watch TV a lot growing up, but I don't watch a lot of TV by myself at home. So that was just that's kind of how I was. I paid more attention to the events that I like gymnastics and I like the diving. But I like a lot more of the Winter Olympics, like figure skating and snowboarding, than a lot of the other ones. So I didn't really sit and watch everything. Um, but how I felt about it is really interesting. As somebody who played sports to a certain level in high school and stuff, I can't really imagine this type of work that goes into preparing for an Olympics. I ran track in high school, and I was about an average runner. I was never really really good or really bad, but to know that there are kids that are my age or even younger that are putting in the work and have that natural athletic ability and are on a world stage like that has always been interesting to me. So, and I also watched track, obviously, because I ran track. So yeah, I think I was a little bit more interested in the controversies around a lot of the different things that happen in the Olympics than the actual events themselves. But
Oh,
I do watch them when I get a chance or when I have time. So
okay, okay. Well, CJ, I don't know if he's still hanging around here. He said that he loves the Olympics, but this year hasn't excited him at all. So if you care to share a little bit more, CJ, about why it hasn't excited you, then I can go ahead and share your comments with other people that are watching. For me, I watched the Olympics. I will say I probably watched the Olympics for the last 20 years. I know every time you guys were kids,
me,
whenever it came around, I watched it. And I always think it's funny to me because outside of that, I don't watch any other sports.
Me
Like,
either. Yeah.
yeah, you would think with how glued I am to the TV around Olympics that I would be really into sports, that I would watch, follow those sports that I like around, outside of that, but I don't. I could care less about sports. But when the Olympics is on, all of a sudden I'm just like really, really into sports for some reason. So I was thinking that maybe I might try to follow sports a little bit more because maybe I might be more interested in it than I think I am. But I do have my plate is full a lot of times. I have a lot of kids, and so maybe I just never gotten around to it. I know when I was younger, I used to play basketball. I used to watch basketball. I've watched a little bit of boxing, especially with my husband. But for the most part, I don't really follow sports, but I do follow the Olympics. Now, of course, not every Olympic sport. Some Olympic sports are dumb. Like seriously, like did you find out about any Olympic sports that you were surprised was an Olympic sport during this time?
I know I knew skateboarding was gonna be an Olympic sport this year. I knew that, but it was still really interesting to see them do it and see people actually like compete and have like the scoring systems and stuff for it. And I think I'm actually excited for 2024 Olympics because they're introducing breakdancing as an Olympic sport. So those
Yeah.
are the two that are interesting. But those sports like skating and like breakdancing, they're sports. Like they are sports that people are competitive at. So it's really cool to see people have that on a global stage. I was never a skater kid, but I do like some of the clothes and the fashion and the music that comes out of that culture. So I think it's interesting. So yeah, those were like skateboarding this time around, and then I know that they're having breakdancing next time it comes around. I'll definitely be watching for the breakdancing because I think that's very very interesting.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, like, I don't watch everything. Some stuff I can care less about, and I don't want to like pour. What's the term? What's the new term nowadays? Because like when we were younger, we would say you don't want to pour salt on something. So what would I say now if I say I'm like I don't want to like make something look bad or like hate on it? Like what's the
I
I don't
I
know.
I think what we probably say now is throwing shade, like being
Okay, throwing shade. Okay, yeah, yeah, I think I've
yeah,
heard
giving
that
it
one. So
shade.
yeah. So I don't want to throw shade on this sport because if other people like it, that's fine. But I think they changed it now. I think it's artistic swimming, but synchronized swimming. I
That's
think it's totally
cool.
stupid. No,
It
it's stupid.
I think it definitely is. It's very athletic. Like I was watching them do the diving and the swimming, and they're lifting people up and sticking their heads out, and it's definitely the fact that they're able to coordinate like that underwater when I can't even swim is interesting. It's I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea, but it definitely speaks to the athleticism and the aquaticness of human beings. I don't know how you could
I think you just
maybe
made up a word. Aquatic is like
like I mean like I don't know how to swim. So for people to be they're diving, they're synchronized, they're moving, they're coordinating. It's choreography underwater. Like that is mind blowing to me. And I did watch some of that. I thought that synchronized swimming was just like straightforward, but when I actually watched the event, I saw how complicated and the routines are like 5 minutes long. I know they
yeah,
can
they
be
are long.
exhausted.
Yeah. Well, like I said, not to throw shade, but that's not for me. I can watch it for like a minute,
After a while,
maybe
it does get
two,
kind
and
of
I'm like,
repetitive.
okay, this is stupid. Like,
Yeah, after a while, it does get kind of repetitive. But I watched. I think China got. I want to say they was silver. I don't know where the U.S. landed, but I know. I watched. I remember I watched the Chinese team, and it looked really cool. It was. It's not very because I feel like people are not naturally water animal. Like we're not naturally supposed to be in water. It doesn't look as pretty as I think I would like it to look. But there's this lady on Instagram that I follow who like does stunts underwater. Like she's on the bottom of the swimming pool with heels on, like doing stunts.
okay,
That
probably for
kind of
like movies and stuff, like in movies and
no, she's just in a pool with a camera. Like I should send it.
oh.
she does like split. She does a split where she's like upside down on the. It's weird that like when I saw her, I was like, oh my gosh, she looks like she's not underwater. It's really crazy. But they didn't. It wasn't like that. You can't really see underwater either, so you don't have that perspective. And you're really the judges are only seeing what's on top of the water anyway. So it's more about the presentation as you
But
leave
I
the
thought
water.
like when you're watching it though, they have a camera cut where you can see above the water and under the water.
You
So I
can,
was I was
yeah.
assuming the judges were looking at that too, but I don't know.
I'm not sure. I wonder if they do because it looks like they're looking at them. Maybe they review the footage and then vote or then score. I don't know. But I,
Yeah.
I think that it's an interesting sport. And I definitely respect the athleticism and the creativity that people, somebody said, we're going to dance underwater and make it a sport. But, which is fine. But it's
Yeah.
just not everybody's. Um,
Yeah, I don't like it. I just like, oh my god. But there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of Olympic sports. I think some people probably would be surprised to know exactly.
and how many? There's a
Yeah,
lot.
there's a
There's
lot. Yeah.
I love the track and field events. Those are my favorite. I love watching the runners. I love watching shot put and discus. Those people are sick. They be
Yeah.
that spinning that sucker out. Okay.
Yeah.
Pole vaulters are. We like who decided we're gonna just see how high you can jump and not
Exactly.
like you're gonna
But
take
I
the
mean,
pole. You're gonna swing up and pray you don't break your neck when you fall down. That's the sport. Like they tried to give me the pole vault in high school and I said no.
yeah, and that's the thing because even with gymnastics, I'm like, who said Leslie who can balance on a beam and do dances and flips on it, or who can flip across? Like, I mean,
Right, with the with the uneven bars, like who was like, let's risk our lives today.
right,
Try
right.
this out and see what happens. Like, it's I would love to do my research on the origin. I mean, running is straightforward and stuff like that because who's the fastest. But it's just interesting the competitions that people have created to keep us entertained. I guess
Exactly. And I mean, not even just us entertained, but the type of stuff that people are really interested in dedicating their time and
their
energy.
lives too, really.
Yeah, yeah. So, I
Especially for
mean,
an Olympics where you only are in your top physical shape for maybe 2 cycles, maybe 8 years as a young person.
yeah,
And once you don't make it after a certain age, you're really not, optimal. Like you dedicate all of your life to it to only be able to do it until you're in mid 20s and then you're done.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
it's
that's
definitely
great.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's
So,
definitely interesting.
okay, so you said, which I was going to get to, I was thinking, for people to chime in on what is their favorite Olympic sport. You said yours is track and just the track and field stuff in general. Anything else that you really like?
I love gymnastics. I love volleyball. I love I love figure skating. I love figure skating so much. I'm sad that there's no Winter Olympics. I wish they had them at the same time because I
Mhm.
think figure skating is awesome. I'm not sure if ballroom dancing is an Olympic sport, but it should be if it's not. I love ballroom dancing, so I like to watch the competition footages of them doing competitive ballroom dancing. And it's interesting because a lot of the sports like volleyball and ice skating and ballroom that I have become to really really like, I actually found out about them watching anime and manga about the sports. Remember that time where I was really crazy about volleyball out of nowhere and I wanted to play and I got a volleyball and everything? I
Yeah,
was I was reading this volleyball manga about these boys and the boy main character is really short and so he has a disadvantage because he's tiny compared to everybody who plays, but he wants to be like the highest jumper and stuff. And I was hooked, obsessed, and I still love. I can play a little bit. I love to play. And I love to watch it. So
yeah. I mean, that just goes back to the power of the mind, and what you're influenced by. That you reading a book about manga, a volleyball player created this passion and stuff in you for volleyball. But so influence the way our minds are influenced. It's also very interesting too, and I do think that like what you're saying, and I'm going to get just a little bit deep here for a second. Um, a lot like you talked about it entertaining us, but in terms of people who are watching, but in terms of people who are doing it, it's like we need to find stuff to fill up our lives. Like, I mean, yes, you can go to work, you can have your hobbies and things like that. But to me, it still kind of boils down to us trying to find meaning and trying to find something purposeful to do with our lives. And some people have just decided that that is something that they want to commit themselves to and dedicate themselves to. But it just kind of shows you how important purpose is for us. Like it's a
yeah, and
yeah,
I think it's also interesting how people are drawn to totally different things. Because as
Yeah.
much as I would love to be an athlete, and because I'm a tall person and I'm have a certain body type, people think that I am optimal to be a good athlete, which it does give me advantage in some ways. I'm not an athletic person. I'm just
Mhm.
not.
Yeah.
I played sports for years. I was in track for what 7 years. Um, and never caught on to it the way that I wanted to. And that could be a question of dedication and how much work I'm putting into, but that spark wasn't there for me, but it was there in other ways. I played instruments and I sing and stuff. So even being a younger person and trying to decide what I want to do I want to pursue my
Here's
passion as a musician or as a psychologist, which are two really different lifestyles?
here's
I,
Ron. Ron is joining
hi.
us, Sequoia.
Um,
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. So, what we were talking about, Sequoia, you can finish saying what you were saying, but Ron, the first two questions that we kind of covered so far is, do you watch the Olympics? And if you do, what is your favorite Olympic sport? So, Sequoia was talking about because I started getting into like our passions, like people have purpose is really important to us as human beings, and people find different things to invest their time into or to bring meaning and purpose to their life. And for some people, that is sports. And you can really see that with people who are Olympic sports because they really dedicate a lot of their time and effort and energy and strength and money and everything into this sport. And so Sequoia was just kind of talking about that a little bit. So
Sounds like y'all got deep.
yeah, I did say that. So I'm gonna get deep here just for a second. But Sequoia, you can finish what you were saying, and then I'm interested to hear because Ron does the sports show on Wednesday. So it would be interesting to hear his sports perspective
yeah.
on the Olympics. But go ahead and finish saying what you were saying first.
I was just saying that we're drawn to different things, and that you um I love sports, and I love certain sports. I love watching it and critiquing it and talking about it. But I also, my heart don't race the same way it does when I'm singing or I'm writing a song. Like those are just two people are just drawn to different things. So like that question of, or that concept of purpose, how it exists differently for everybody. Because I mean,
Yeah.
even not just sports players, but sports fans. There are people who dedicate their whole lives to
Oh yeah,
the
definitely.
NBA and being a Lakers fan or whatever. Like there are people who get out who there's it's so important. There's jobs for it. You can be Shannon Sharp. I call him Uncle Shannon because he's hilarious.
Uncle
But
Shakespeare.
Shannon, like you could be like him and Skip and make their career out of commentating on sports. Like that is how much of an impact that has on us as people, which is very interesting to me.
Yeah, and then some of those commentators, like I give them a lot of credit though, because some of them I don't think I would be as interested or as knowledgeable about what's going on if it wasn't for the people who were commentating.
Right.
Some of them I don't care for, but some of them are really, really good, and I give them their props for that. But Ron, do you watch the Olympics? And if you do, what is your favorite Olympic sport?
Okay, that's a deep question from how y'all were breaking it down, and
Well,
depend.
we went deep on the tail end. At first, we just talked about those. Just answer those questions. So you don't have to get deep.
So, do I watch the Olympics?
Yeah.
Yes, of
Okay.
course. I think
Okay.
it will, the American society and culture would be kind of crazy hearing someone say they didn't.
Well,
Um,
I know some people who don't watch the Olympics. They don't care.
right,
Yeah.
and I feel that way now. That's why I have a lot of conflicting thoughts about the Olympics and some of the things that's been going on and what we've been seeing, and then
Okay.
looking back at the past history of it. So I
Okay.
kind of understand both sides.
Okay. So we can get into that a little bit because I do want to talk about some controversial stuff a little bit. But so, what is your favorite Olympic sports? Do you kind of like all of
Basketball,
them?
easy.
Okay.
USA basketball, without a question.
Okay. Okay. So,
Best, most entertaining.
mhm,
Black Kings usually holding it down for Team USA and making sure we take care of business.
okay. So for me, I usually watch the gymnastics. I usually watch track and field, even though I'm having such a difficult time finding track and field stuff. Like it's kind of getting on my nerves anyway, but I'm sure I can find like snippets, but I want to watch the whole thing and I'm having trouble finding it. But anyway, I've always had trouble finding the stuff I want to watch on the Olympics. So that's not unusual. I thought it
Yeah.
would be a little bit easier with like smart TVs and all that type of stuff. And it is a little bit easy, but it's still kind of hard to catch everything too. Some stuff comes on at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And
Right. I was mad.
yeah, but so I like gymnastics, I like track, I like swimming and diving. I like most of the water stuff. Even though some of them I don't watch as long as I watch others. I like the triathlon. And I'm trying to think of some other ones.
I can't watch the triathlon. It make me sad.
Yeah, they be suffering. They
I
be suffering. Yeah.
no stop, baby, stop.
Yeah.
I just
I'm like, and then when they get to the finish line, oh my goodness, they just fall.
collapsing. I saw this video. I don't know if this was of this Olympics. I feel like it was. It might have been a past one, but it was two brothers, and the one brother was gonna win, who was in the front, but he was falling out. Like he could not walk. He just was wiped out. This man's head was just flat. I'm like, is he gonna die? So his brother comes up. His brother comes up and grabs a hold of him, and that just keeps going to the finish line. And his brother is just out of it. Like it looked so sad, but it was so sweet because his brother let him cross first. I think they came second and third. It was very
okay.
like he would have won if he had it. That baby fell out. He was gone.
Yeah, I saw one. I don't know if that's what this year or not, because they do recaps and stuff when you're watching it. But this one guy, once he got past the finish line and they was like congratulating him, he just vomited everywhere. Like
body,
that stuff is deep. So, but anyway, so those are my favorite ones. I think I might have some others, but I can't think of it right now, and I don't want to hold up the time. So one of the things that I noticed, and we're going to get a little bit deep here. One of the things that I noticed as I'm watching the Olympics, and I think I noticed it more this time than I did before, because you know how sometimes you watch a movie and then you don't notice stuff, and then you watch it again and you're like, oh, I didn't notice that before. Or you read the Bible and you get one meaning out of it, then you read it again, you get a totally different meaning. And so I've never paid attention as to this before, even though I do watch the Olympics almost every time it comes out. But it stood out to me much more the lack of Black people in different sports. Like, so you like Ron said, you see Blacks in basketball, you see Blacks in track, you see a little bit of Blacks in gymnastics, more so women than men. But I'm watching a triathlon. I see no Blacks. Most of diving and swimming, very little Blacks.
Right.
Cycling, because I do watch that one sometimes, very little Blacks. Like, there's a lot of sports that it just seems like Black people are not in at all. And so I was just wondering, like, what do you guys think about that, or how do you see that? And maybe that might have something to do with your feelings. Maybe that might have something to do with your feelings about the Olympics, Ron. What do you think about that?
I couldn't agree more with that statement. One of the craziest things about this current past Olympics is the Haitian Olympic team.
What is that beeping? Is that you, Ron? Is that you, Sequoia?
I think that is me. I'm trying to turn that off.
Okay. It's like right in the microphone. I thought something was beeping in my house.
I saw you jump.
My bunnies heard it and they both jumped from in here. Right.
I'm like, is something in the microwave? But anyway, go ahead.
One of the craziest things is how the Haitian Olympic team pretty much fell apart this Olympics. They came in last in just about every event. And I'm sure y'all saw the meme of the Haitian Black dude running and immediately falling on the first pole he had to jump.
Wow. What's going on with that? Like, what's that
so
about?
We know with Haiti that they really went through with the pandemic. They lost a lot of resources. They kind of completely fell apart. Their leaders in the country have been assassinated. You know what, you can kind of visualize it like that scene from Black Panther when he's expressing to his dad all the stuff that happened to the Black community in America. And that's pretty much Haiti. And we got to see their Olympic team, and it was pretty much like they just had to go get some dudes from outside.
Right.
That haven't really been training for the Olympics. Like that takes people, they be training for like their whole life from the Olympics.
Yeah.
And it was just tragic. And just like, oh.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
wow.
They
So
don't have the funding. They don't have the resources. They don't have a lot of the access to stuff. So it makes sense that they don't. And then their leaders, then their president just got assassinated a couple weeks
Right.
ago.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And
So
so that's the thing, because as much as we all look at the Olympics as like a worldwide event, it really takes some your country to have some level of wealth for you guys to be able to participate in it, because you have to have training, you have to have, like you said, resources, you have to have good coaches and things like that. And you may have some people that if they had those things available to them, they could be the best, they could compete, but because they don't have those things, that it kind of it eliminates them from even being in the competition. And it just really kind of shows you an example of like the advantage that we have when we have resources versus when we don't, like, and how important that is. And so even for like a lot of the black countries, a lot of them are struggling. And blacks struggle here more than whites do when it comes to finances in America.
On a large scale.
You see that you can really see that demonstrated in the Olympics by the lack of black athletes in a lot of sports, and
yeah,
how we seem to kind of dominate in those that may not require as much funds, or that we're already really popular in and stuff like that. So I thought that that was really interesting, and I'm sure there are a lot more socio-economic issues behind that.
I think that's really interesting, and I just wanted a quick side note since we're talking about Haiti. I think a lot of I've heard and I've seen a lot of. I mean, Naomi Osaka was one of the standouts. She didn't do as well as I thought she was going to do. I think she was out third round, but she is Haitian and Japanese, and she represented Japan, which she has done. I'm pretty sure for all of her career, and so there are a lot of black people like Dr. Umar Johnson, for example, was a really loud advocate for saying that it will be beneficial for her to represent Haiti to bring that money and that finances, that resources to the country. And I found that conversation very interesting because as much as there is a lack of black people in the Olympics, and then we have this person here who is half and half. She's both. She speaks Japanese. She speaks English. Her dad, who was Haitian, did teach her how to play tennis. And so because of that reason, they're like, well, she should give back and stuff like that. But I recognize that and I agree with that to an extent. But at the end of the day, as much as the black community across the globe does need help, she's both. She is Japanese and she is Haitian, and it isn't totally fair for. I mean, Japan's going to give her way more funding and give her all access resources that Haiti's not going to be able to give her. So,
Mm.
at the end of the day, it is her decision, and I was very proud to see that she got to light the Olympic torch this year. But I even heard, if I read the article
Stuff
correctly,
like that.
at
But
one of
I recognize that and I agree with that to
Ron
an
is
extent.
playing the show.
the,
As
I'm
much
gonna I'm gonna mute you, Ron, until you're ready to talk, because we're getting a lot of background noise from your stuff. But go ahead.
I felt like that was me. It felt like that was my voice.
Yeah, Ron is playing our show on his stuff. You're
Oh,
hearing it.
okay. Sorry.
Well,
Um,
hold on. I muted you, Ron. Let me unmute
Yeah.
you. What you say? Say that again.
I say, why you gotta do me like that? I was going into the chat on our show because somebody had commented on the Olympics and I was trying to
we
respond
talked
to them.
about
Okay, no,
shit.
I mean I'm not mad at you for it, but we can hear her talking while she's
Yeah,
talking. Yeah, so I just
my bad.
Okay.
easy
I
solution. It's mute. It's fine.
I thought
Amen.
my thing was acting weird. But at the end of the day, like I said, she's both, and I think that it speaks to the experience of the diaspora of blackness across the globe. That as much as she's Japanese too, and she gets to
Yeah.
choose what she wants to do at the end of the day,
Right.
and and even though she lit the Olympic torch this year, and I love that she had red for Japan, but box braids black. She was able to represent in that way, and the braids looked awesome. But there were Japanese commissioners who did not want her. They wanted this Japanese baseball player to be the one to do it because he was full blood Japanese. They didn't. I've heard and I've read articles that they didn't want her to do it. But they did it anyway, probably for the publicity because she's kind of had all this attention on her the past couple months with pulling out of the French Open and stuff like that. But I just thought that was interesting, and I feel for Haiti. I wish there was more that we could do to help, but of course, there's not a lot. Um, but yeah, that was the tangent that I just.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that brings me to my next question, which is there was a lot of black people, even with this issue that you're talking about, and I don't want to say her name because I don't want to mess it up. Um, some black people they didn't want to watch the Olympics, especially with all the, racial tension that's been going on here for over a year now. I've read a lot of black people, especially when that one girl, I'm sorry, what's her name?
Sha'Carri Richardson.
Yeah, when she got disqualified for smoking weed, there were a lot of black people on social media saying they were not watching the Olympics this year. They were not going to support it because, and because of that, and also because they were saying black people should not even represent America in the Olympics because of the racial issues that we have here. So, what do you guys think about that?
The crazy part after that, Shakari Richardson getting kicked out, they immediately did a whole sponsorship ad on mental health and how some of the athletes come on there and talk about how they use marijuana products to help them get through it.
Is Megan Rapone? Megan Rapone, the pink-haired soccer player?
Yep. She
had a whole campaign about how she uses CBD in her I guess wellness plan and to help her manage anxiety. And CBD and THC do the exact same thing. Like they literally do the same thing, but because it just has that one chemical that they've banned, which is THC, which is what Sha'Carri smoked, that's the difference. But it does the same thing. And
nothing but praises for her.
Right. Yeah. And I was just talking to somebody about this because I posted something on Instagram on my story that was comparing Sha'Carri Richardson being disqualified. There was a white fencer that has been accused of sexually assaulting 3 women, but he was still allowed to compete at the Olympics. I don't think he did. He was accused. He hasn't been, innocent until proven guilty.
Okay.
But he was accused of that, and it's 3, not just one. It's 3 people. And so I posted that, and I had a couple people, my cousin included, who were like, "Well, that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing." I'm like, "It's not the same thing, but it just it calls it into question. You have to start looking at the policies and the rules that the IOC makes when it comes to this stuff, because there's no way, if you were accused of anything, especially something like that, I don't think that you should compete, honestly."
Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides of that because say if he's innocent and somebody accused him, then that's not, you know what I'm saying? Now his Olympic stuff is messed up for 4 years. This thing comes around as often as Eclipse, and now you can't compete in it because somebody accused you of something you didn't do. Right. So it's like, if you're innocent, then that's bogus. But if you're guilty, then it's justified. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, so to speak. So I do kind of understand both sides. I guess it just boils down to if the person is innocent or not. But I do think some of the policies and things that IOC makes are questionable, with not just the drug use issue with Sherry, but which we talked about, Sequoia, is the dress code for women. Like, it can be in my personal opinion, the dress code is sexist. And for the first time in the gymnastics, women wore pants instead of the leotard that they usually wear because it finally got approved. I think the people who wore it, I forgot what country they were from, but all of them were wearing that. And that was the first time that has ever happened, that they kind of had the option to wear something different. So, in relation to the questionable policies of the IOC, and I'm gonna get back to Sherry in a minute because I do want to talk about.
It's Sha'Carri. It's
okay.
Sha'Carri.
That's why that's Sherry. Look, thank you for correcting me. That's why I didn't want to say anybody's names because I'd be messing stuff up. So sorry. Say it again.
Sha'Carri.
Sha'Carri. Okay, Sha'Carri.
SHA''CARRI.
Sha'Carri. Sorry, Sha'Carri, if you watch this. I'm sorry for butchering your name. But anyway, let me go back to that and then we'll talk about the dress code thing.
I'm still mad about that.
What do you guys think about blacks boycotting the Olympics because of the racial stuff in America, that we should not be representing America because of what's going on here?
I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with that?
I don't.
Let Ron say something. He's been.
Yeah, I know. I always want to point that in here.
My personal feelings is I thought like the USA basketball team should have held out. So I guess I'm on the complete opposite side with you.
No, what? No, I mean, I didn't give my opinion yet. I guess you must
Oh,
be talking about
me.
Sequoia.
Yeah.
But so talk a little bit more about like what do you think? Like why do you think they should have done that? And like what do you think should they do that like demanding something or like what do you think?
So when the pandemic first happened, 2020, the NBA took, I would say, the biggest stance of official organizations like the NFL, MLB, and leading the calls for Black Lives Matter and making sure that they put it out to the public.
Okay.
Um, and the basketball players, of course, did some standouts. When I forget his name, but he was murdered up in Milwaukee. The Milwaukee Bucks did a sit out, and the whole league followed and whatnot. So they've kind of always been that vibe energy for the culture.
Yeah.
However, like with a lot of things, getting back into reality 2021, all of it died down and everything that we was fighting for. And we're in this new administration and none of our our expectations are being met. And we kind of just fell back to where we were at. And I felt like some type of demonstration or performance would have been spot on. I wouldn't even say hold out, just any type of thing. There was no news trending about so and so does it stands for Black Lives Matter or anything for people of the diaspora.
Yeah.
And
Well,
me,
I did hear something. Was it was a gymnast, I believe. I wasn't, but she wasn't from the U.S. I think she was from Brazil. That she did something for Black Lives Matter, but I don't remember the details. But that's the only thing. I think I may have heard one more thing, but that's the only thing I've heard. But like
I
you
know a
said,
story.
it was nothing really big. Yeah.
Well, and
right,
The Olympic Committee banned any political protests of any kind. No Black Lives Matter shirts, none of that. Like
can't
they
even put your fist up.
Yeah.
right, and even
Yeah.
there was a shot putter. I think she won bronze. I want to say bronze or silver. A shot putter, who she was the only person to do any kind of demonstration, but she put her hands up in the air like this over her head, and now she's being investigated, and she might get her medal taken if they decide that that was something that was that was against the rules. But she was just like, this is for anybody. She's also a queer person, so part of her thing was also about queer people. But she's like, this is for anybody who's felt, like you couldn't do something because of something you couldn't help or whatever. And then actually was really sad, but her mom passed away shortly after she won her medal.
Oh
But
wow.
she happened to see that she saw that she won and everything, but I was really sad to hear that. I heard that a couple days ago. But yeah, and even the IOC like making that stance and then banning swim caps for people that have bigger hair and stuff like that. It just doesn't look correct. And I know that Japan is a very conservative very country, and so you can't maybe expect too much from them when it comes to this kind of stuff. But it just did feel like it was really hard, to protest, and a lot of Black people were kind of just celebrating the fact that they were even there, which I agree with. And so I do hear what Ron's saying about like we've kind of died down when it has come to the protest, especially since life is kind of going back to normal in a sense. Which how long is that going to last? We will see. But I also felt like I think at the end of the day, it comes to personal choice. If you don't want to celebrate it because Sha'Carri got banned or whatever, you can do that. But even with the Sha'Carri situation, as much as I don't think that weed needs to be banned, especially if it's legal in her state. It is not a performance enhancing drug. It doesn't make any sense why if she can smoke weed and run that fast, she need to smoke some more. So like that's how I feel. But at the end of the day, she knew it was against the rules and she did it anyway. So as we can't ignore that completely.
Part of it,
Even though
yeah.
the rule is stupid, the rule should be changed and they need to review that. Like I said, it's not performance enhancing. It's legal in her state. And I think that as the conversation of legalizing marijuana grows and continues in the US and across the globe, I think that might change.
Yeah, it probably will. Yeah, because I was surprised to hear that she got disqualified for that.
Right.
Because especially for the past year or so in America, you're just hearing so much about the legalization of marijuana that your mentality about it is just kind of like, it's going down. So I'm thinking, oh, well, I thought it was legal. Like, why is she being disqualified?
Right. And it's
But
not steroids.
there are rules. So
right, it's not helping her run any faster. I don't
yeah.
see why she should be banned. I don't understand why she didn't run in the relay, at least because she qualified. But at the end of the day, we cannot take, responsibility away from her. And if she knew they were going to test her, I don't understand why in the world she would do it anyway. She knew, she's a sport person, she knows what's going on, and so we can't
Yeah.
ignore that.
Why
So
did you take that chance?
take that
But
chance.
So
I
will we admit the fact that her mother had just passed
and
away right before the lead up to the Olympics? She was going
exactly.
through a mental adversity.
yeah,
And that's what I hate. Like, people were just like, she shouldn't have done that. It doesn't matter. Da, 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 da. But her mom had just died. Like, her mom had just died, and it only wasn't her mom, but it was a mom that like didn't raise her. So that's a whole different ball. I mean, it's
yeah,
hard
a whole
either way,
different
but
issue.
it's just a deeper issue. And so I could totally understand why. I'm not gonna ever act like she just did it. I hate that people were just tearing her up on one end. Just she let down the black community. She's this. She's that. But it was too much. But that it's still, we also still, it's all of that is involved in the package. So should she not have done it? I wish that she hadn't. I wish that she had ran, but that happened. But the rule needs to be looked at and changed. Like, the rule should not be there in the first place. So that's.
I mean, I think that's a good, stance or middle ground, because a lot of times we have this very black and white perspective of stuff as just human beings in general. And a lot of stuff is not black and white. It's not always like you're wrong, I'm right. A lot of times we have to balance those things out and meet in the middle. Like, yeah, I don't think she should have been banned for that, but then I don't make the rules either. And I'm not a track star. I don't know anything about, the depths of why they denied it and all of that. But at the same time, she's still a human being. She was going through stuff. The rule definitely needs to be looked at, especially when a lot of countries, especially in America, a lot of states are legalizing marijuana. So it's very, very weird on a national scale to be denied entry for a drug that half the world it doesn't look at it as it's legal. And
Right. And at
so
the
I
end of
wish
the
that
day,
could be
it's
a
not
bomb drop.
performance enhancing. Like, that's
say
my
that,
thing.
say that again, Ryan.
I wish that could be like a bomb drop. What you just said. The
What?
Right. It
world
doesn't
is
make sense.
profiting millions and billions off this
Right.
industry,
Yeah.
but yet
And
here
it's
we go. This little bit of systematic racism we're just gonna slap in your face.
right.
Yeah. So
It
it's
was a
it's
mess. And then it's like, not just her, but the swim caps, and there's different rules, and you can't protest, you can't do that, and then we're gonna talk about Simone Biles too. Like, it just, all of it looked,
yeah. Just hold
it's
on with the
shady.
hold
It's
on with the Simone
it's
Biles.
shady.
She had to get her fan out.
Yeah.
It's shady. I don't
I
like
mean, hold on with the Simone Biles, because we definitely are going to go there. But yeah, so stuff is not always black and white. And you definitely have to be open minded and stuff like that. And it takes not only for people to be involved and understand their responsibility, like you saying with her. I'm not going to say her name because I might mess it up again. But it also takes for people to now make a stance against, like, this thing is not, this needs to be looked at, like you said again. Like, it definitely needs to be looked at. It's very, very stupid for you to be disqualified for a drug
for
that is
some weed.
legalized.
Like, if
Yeah.
she is smoking weed and is running 100 meters in 10, I mean, I don't think she would have done, actually, compared to her numbers, she might not have done the best in the actual Olympics, considering that the Jamaican lady who won the 100 was like a 0.2 faster than her. But if she is smoking weed and she's running like that, let that child run. Like, because I
Yeah.
know what the effects. I'm sorry, Mama, but I be sleep. So
Wait a minute. Hold on. We're not about to have that conversation on here. So please. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. So the IOC has a lot of weird stuff, policies. One of them is when it comes to athletes being able to capitalize on their exposure in the Olympics. It's very, very strict. I understand it, but at the same time, it's kind of ridiculous. And anything that's putting the athletes at a disadvantage of getting the most from all the work that they put in, I definitely think that needs to be looked at again, because they make more money off the Olympics than the people who are in the Olympics, which is
exactly. You
ridiculous.
only you only get money if you win a medal. You don't
Exactly.
you
And
know,
they make billions during the Olympics. And they make billions. But people are participating and winning. And the IOC does not award money. Did you guys know that? The IOC is not the people who gives, they are not the organization that awards money to the winners. They make the most money, but they don't award money. They give the medals and all that other stuff. But anyway, that's a whole different
Yet
conversation.
another reason why somebody should have protested.
Yeah, and so I feel like when it comes to watching the Olympics, this is how I feel. It's pointless as viewers to not watch it if the athletes themselves are not making a stand for it. Because if they're still participating in it, then it's not going to change anything. They have the most power in that situation. So
Yeah.
I know there was some time in the past that athletes kind of band together and protest the Olympic committee, and they kind of made some changes. I don't know all the details about it, but I have heard of that. But I feel like as viewers, I would rather watch it and support the people who are participating, especially the black people, than to not watch it and those people are still in there and having to deal with that stuff with them. If they are not boycotting it themselves, us not watching it is not going to make that much of a difference. That's
Right.
just my opinion. So I would urge the athletes, because I think they do some shady stuff. I would urge the athletes, you guys need to come together and like do something, because they definitely have the power. They have the power in that
Right. If they don't
situation. Yeah.
participate, there's no money to be
Exactly. There's no Olympics, but you need enough people coming together to do it for it to actually make impact and some changes. So that's my opinion on that. But I do want to talk about the Olympic dress code, because there's something else about their policies. I do think that they are very, very sexist, and I'm just wondering what you guys think. What you think, Ron? As a man, do you feel like some of the things that the women wear are like questionable, or it doesn't bother you, or you don't think it's a big deal? Like, how do you see their dress code?
Um, it is very sexual. I don't think it bothers me because that's just society and what we are
Mm-hmm.
in this present time. But they
Mm-hmm.
also say that it's designed that way to give specific athletic advantages.
Okay, so then why the men
Compression.
don't? Then why the men don't wear it?
They do. Men wear them
No,
under their uniform and stuff like that.
right? Okay, right.
I
So if they this is what me and my kids were talking about. If they wear under their uniform, then why are men and women not wearing the same stuff? Because if men is because I know men wear leotards, especially in gymnastics, under their shorts and stuff. So if they can wear shorts over their leotard, why girls can't wear shorts over their leotard?
I think it's an easy answer on why men can't wear, why they have to wear something over it.
I'm not
right.
questioning the men. I'm
It's
saying
about
if
the
men can wear it, why can't women wear it? It's the same thing.
Well, hold on, because I do fashion. I've done some research,
Mm-hmm.
and it's definitely true. If a man, as much as girls, that area is exposed. If a man was to wear that specific thing, I feel like it would look more revealing. Like if I has a leotard,
No, wait, let back up.
because I
It
don't
would
know.
not. Well, hold on, 1 second. It would not look more revealing. It would be more revealing.
It would
It's
be
not a
right.
look.
And so, right, that the question is why can't, especially if a woman chooses to or she wants to, why can't she have the option to cover up if she feels it's
Yeah,
appropriate? That's my issue. It's not that at
that's
the
my
end of the
question.
day, from a fashion perspective, it comes down to the aesthetic. And like for the guy gymnasts, they have that full body, like the foot thing. It looks nice for the physique that muscular gymnastics men have, like to accent all those. That it's just aesthetically appealing. And then for women, you want that more feminine touch. So from an aesthetic perspective, that's just the man and woman aesthetic that has existed, that was kind of put in place from the beginning, and now we just continue it because it's tradition. But the fact that the option is not available, or if they do it, it's against the rules, that's my problem. And with the volleyball team, was it Sweden? Was it
I think
Sweden?
it was Sweden. Yeah.
That volleyball team who got like for gymnastics, I can maybe understand having that leg room, like removing that obstacle, but there's no reason why these ladies have to like writhe around in the sand in a bikini if
Oh,
they
their
don't want to.
bikini shorts they're so tiny, like it's
It's
ridiculous.
it that is that it That doesn't make sense to me. And for them being fined, I feel like that was ridiculous, especially when the men don't have to do that. So
And,
that's
and so yeah, so that's
right.
my whole thing.
Yeah,
Like I understand if a man can wear it to do the sport, why can't the women wear it? I do think it's sexist. That's just in my opinion. I was glad to see that women are now able to, especially in gymnastics, at least have the option of wearing
Right.
the
So if
pants.
they're cool with it, I'm cool with it. Like, if
Yeah,
that's
I mean, because
right.
if somebody is okay with that, then that's them. But I do think that there should be options, and I do think it's kind of sexist. But let's move on to the next question. Unless Ron has something else he wants to say about that.
No, I don't
Okay.
think there's much more you can have on that topic.
Okay.
Right.
Are we boring you, Ron?
No.
Okay. I'm just messing. I'm just messing with you, Ron. I'm just messing with you. You know, it's been a while since you've been on my show, so I gotta mess with you a little bit, right?
I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
I've always loved this energy. It's nothing better than outside the box on to start the Monday off for the week.
Okay, I like that. Can you repeat that again when we get ready to go off the when we get ready to
I got you.
end? Okay, so last but not least, and we started a little bit late, so we're not running over time. Simone Biles. Simone Biles, the GOAT as they call her. You guys know that she did not compete um for the and a lot of the Olympic sports that everybody was expecting a lot from her. I was expecting a lot from her. I noticed from the very beginning she wasn't on her game. I was hoping she was going to get it together. She didn't. She dropped out, and she's been getting a lot of like slack for it. She's gotten it from both sides. People praising her for putting her mental health first, and then also people who have been really, really hard on her about not rising to the occasion and pushing through and getting it done. So my opinion to you, my question to you guys is like, what do you think about that? Like, do you feel like, she should have just pushed through it, that her not doing it, like made black people look bad? I mean, just overall in general, what do you think about Simone Biles is not, competing for so many of the events that she's known for?
I would
Sorry, go ahead, Ron.
I would say I think it's her taking a stand for our time in this generation and some of the major problems that athletes are coming out and saying they deal with now, mental illness.
Mm, mm,
And it could be a very complicated subject how you're going to look at it when you're talking about doing it for the honor of your country.
mm, yeah. So you kind of watching to? I know you say you like sports, but do you watch the Olympics? Do you watch gymnastics? Were you disappointed?
She eventually won a medal,
Yeah,
so
she did.
I was not disappointed at all. I was excited that she took that stance
Mm,
because it's something that we don't like to pay attention to in sports. Like Michael Jordan's dad died, and he literally had to take 2 years away from the sport that he loved and dominated at doing, and it wasn't really looked at and understood back then. And you have several other events. My favorite one, basketball, Paul George. But this is things that athletes go through, and sometimes they don't get hurt or get the help that they need, and it's just as detrimental to them.
yeah, and I think it points to an earlier point that me and Sequoia was talking about the links that some people are going to for our entertainment. Even though I do think it's deeper than that, but it's like we just people, especially people who are upset, is like you're just the entertainment. Like, we don't really want to look past what you might be going through, how you feel, what you're struggling with, and things like that. As long as you are can still entertaining us. And whenever your problems interfere with our entertainment, that's an issue,
Right.
That's a
which I think,
plantation mentality. It sounds
yeah,
like.
it's
Hello.
really, really bad because athletes are still people too. And I feel like for her to commit so much of her life, like Sequoia was talking about before, and I think you mentioned it too, Ron, that people dedicate their lives, like, from childhood doing this stuff, that she's not going to not participate for a stupid reason. Like, this is what she's been doing for her entire life. And if it's so bad that this event that comes around every 4 years, she has to take a step back. You have to take a step back as a fan and understand that this must be something very, very
Right.
serious. And not just look at it
Run
like,
her through the mud. It's
yeah,
crazy. All of these past Olympics, Simone Biles, they've been waving her and using her and endorsing her like she was the Queen of England. But she do this one thing, drag her through the mud just like that. No
Right.
exactly.
remorse,
This
no thought.
And this is potentially her last Olympics. She might not go to the next one. She'll be 28. She's 24,
Yeah.
28. That's past prime gymnastics age. She probably could still do it if she wanted to, but
Well, she's past prime gymnastic age now.
right, like she's
Yeah.
on the edge. So for her to push that far, she could do it if she wanted to, but it's not gonna. She's not gonna perform at her best, and it puts her in more danger the older she gets. But it was very frustrating to see this person had like that I have idolized and that like I look up to as a black woman who's been through so much in her life, from being in foster care to being adopted to being, was one of the many girls who was being sexually abused and assaulted by that, I forgot his name,
That
but
coach, yeah.
by that coach. She was one of those girls. She lived through that. So for her to put all of this on hold, for her to be at the Olympics and she's there and she makes a decision in that moment to not only step back but stay in the stadium and cheer on her teammates like she did, it was an awe-inspiring moment. And I know she was in that room when she got back and was probably crying her eyes out. And
Yeah,
got up the next day
exactly.
and came back with her white jacket on and did it again.
Yeah.
And to see people just really jump on the opportunity like a pack of hyenas on an antelope in the Sahara made me really angry. I was really upset. Like, it wasn't fair. It just wasn't fair.
Well, I
And
mean, go ahead.
and and like I was saying, should she have pushed through? What gymnastics people do, if you land wrong, it's a wrap. Like, you have one mistake and it's a wrap. Whether you break a limb and can't recover or you break your neck, that stuff is not easy. It's not like a sport like archery or something. They risk their lives doing that, and that just
Yeah.
speaks to how powerful they are as human beings. Those are some strong people.
Yeah, and
Physically,
it's funny when I see
Right.
when they're performing, they have so much tape, like tape wrapped around their legs, tape wrapped around their wrists, like
Yes, pushing their bodies to the absolute
yeah,
limit.
exactly. But
You know,
one of the things that stands out to me about the whole Simone Biles thing is, which I think is a problem, especially in America. Like, I don't know how other people abroad were reacting to it because Simone Biles is kind of getting promoted here. The lack of compassion that people have for each other, like, and it seems like it's getting worse. Like, we don't care what you're going through, just do what we expect,
right?
or even for the racial issue, we don't really care what blacks are struggling with, just be quiet and stay out of the way. It's like people have so much. I mean, even you have rich people who kind of have this mentality towards poor people and things like that. And so it just really kind of surprised me, the lack of compassion with people kind of not being genuinely concerned about what is going on with you. Like,
Right.
because this is not an easy decision to make for her, I'm sure. So it's like, this must be really serious for you to have to take a step back. And like I said, when she first started, I could see
Her
right away she
qualifier,
wasn't on her
her
game. And I was
qualifier.
like, what is, so I wasn't even really surprised when she kind of pulled out, because I kind of saw what was going on. But I was like concerned for her, like, wow, what is she dealing with? What is she's going through? And it
Right.
was really surprising to me to hear people just totally gloss over anything that she might be going through, because this is her dream. This is not your dream. This is not my dream. It's her dream. And she has to take a step back. And nobody's, I don't want to say nobody, but a lot of people were not concerned with it. They were only concerned with, like, why are you not doing what we're
And at
expecting
the
you to do?
at the end of the day, yes, America won gold, but that medal belongs to her. Y'all not getting it. I don't understand what this entitlement comes from. I don't understand it. Like, the
Mhm.
medal's going on her fireplace, not yours.
Right, right.
So I don't understand this, and I was listening to this like white podcaster, and she's just an embarrassment to our country and blah blah blah. I'm like, you couldn't do what she does on your best day, and she could do it on her worst. The fact that she landed, because you could see when she started the jump that it was off. Because I mean, I paid
Oh
attention.
yeah,
When
definitely.
she hit the springboard, I'm like, oh snap, it's not gonna go. And the fact that she still, that phenomenon that happened to her is called the twisties. I heard a lot of sports people who they the phenomenon happens across sports and across people with different experiences, but psychology wise, it's basically when your body is not able to
I
connect to
understand.
that muscle memory that you have built over the years. The
Yeah,
connection is not there, which is, we found out her aunt died while she was in Tokyo.
yeah.
So the fact that she still stuck that landing and didn't fall on her back just is like, to it blew my mind, and it was so crazy that people were just bashing her and coming for her. Even the black community, we thought she was this, we thought she was that. Like,
Yeah.
and you also made a good point that she's 24 and she's getting past that prime age. I'm pretty sure Sunisa, who's from Minnesota, yay, I want to say is 18, 19. I think Jordan is 20. Like, they're younger. She's the oldest person on her team anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it spoke volumes. And then to me, to see her, sorry, there's something in my eye. To see her when she left, and you could see them talking, and she's just shaking her head like, and she puts her jacket on and zips it up. I got chills. Like,
Yeah,
Wow.
I think she handled it very maturely, very well. Like, you didn't even see her crying. I would have been at least wiping tears, you know. But she I mean, it shows you the mental strength that she even has, the way she handled it, especially on camera. Because I don't even think I would have been able to keep my composure even on camera. And like you say, she came out, she cheered. And might I add, the one event that she participated in, she got bronze. Like, that's cold. Like, come on.
Right. She said,
You
don't
know.
forget.
Yeah.
Like,
So I mean, you have to
Do this in my sleep.
Go ahead. What'd you say?
I said she was like, I can do this in my sleep.
Right.
Exactly.
I hit this, and this. Do you not realize how skinny that balance beam is?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Huh? I don't understand. I be tripping on air for no reason in here. I'm just not a very athletic person. I don't understand it. So it blows my mind the way that people, especially American culture, you know, people who you would never claim Simone Biles as anything otherwise. She's proven time and time again she's the GOAT.
Oh,
y'all,
yeah, exactly.
She's a black woman. Y'all don't accept her anyway. Don't act like, oh, she's a disappointment. Like, y'all don't care about her. I don't understand. Like, the people just were so ready and eager to jump on it and stuff like that. It was, y'all need to go back to work. Go clock in at Home Depot like you're supposed to, and stop. Because it's too much. And it was very upsetting, but I was really glad to see her push through. I think that she made history.
I was glad to see her come back and get that bronze. I'm like, yes, like, you know, but I do like I was saying, and it's a lot of stuff connected to this. I'm just pointing out a few things because before I talked about, you know, our desire for purpose as human beings, and I talked about, you know, the I'm forgetting what else. Oh, stuff is not always, you know, black and white, and we have to kind of, you know, look at things a little bit deep perspective and weigh them out, and actually be flexible in our assumptions about things. Because when we have this black and white point of view about stuff, a lot of the times it is, it's limiting in our options that we have, and then even, you know, standing up for, you know, what we want. So, you know, to make change, because like I was saying about the IOC, the athletes have the power in that situation, and we need to come together and stand for, you know, what we want to make change. And that comes from, you know, a lot of things that can be applied to a lot of things in life. And then even with this Simone Biles issue, yeah, we just need to have more compassion for each other as human beings.
As people, like, even with Miss Naomi Osaka, who I'm also extremely proud of, and I just feel like I just respect her so much. Like, her pulling out of this, you know, her standing her ground and saying, I don't want to answer questions right now. Yes, does the sports industry have a machine and she know what she signed up for and all that? Of course. But and should she have maybe, you know, should she have kind of compromised and maybe given a written statement or whatever? Sure. But if she's like, I can't do this right now, people are like, you know, I mean, what's that ugly man and from the UK? What's his name? Pierre Morgan, nasty self, because he hates Markle. He just was being so vicious, like, she's just an embarrassment. She's not even from your country. Why are you so mad? She's not from the UK. At least Megan was related to like his society. He's on Twitter going off. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
But you know, that's the thing, because a lack of compassion for other people is a personal issue. Like, people try to make it about other people and what they're not doing right, and they're really, it's a personal issue with you, and you need to fix that. Even when it comes to like racism and things like that, those are personal issues that people have, and they're actually just reflecting their personal issues on other people and into their environment. And unfortunately, when you have enough people doing that, it can create a culture, because, you know, a lot of people doing that. But really, these are personal issues that people have, and lack of compassion is really, I don't want to say evil, because I feel like it's a strong word, but it can definitely be very, very evil. Especially like you say, he's talking about her, people talking about her. I mean, could you imagine even her reading that she's going through this and she reads something like that has to be
By
very,
somebody who doesn't even know her.
yeah,
Most
yeah,
likely.
that's really, really hurtful, you know. So,
Like Venus said, you can't hold a candle to me.
yeah,
On your work. On my look, you. She said it, and I love that moment. She was like, as much as it's difficult, she was responding to what Naomi was going through, and I appreciate her perspective. She's like, I know in my heart that none of y'all can do what I do on any day of the week, and I can do it in my sleep. You can't
yeah,
hold a candle to me, and I love that moment because at the end of the day, that's the truth. And I
exactly.
think
And
that
it,
our culture has such an issue with celebrity culture, and we have social media, so we just look at everybody's lives. We're so judgmental towards each other, and it's so easy to do it behind a screen and not in somebody's face now that people just think they can say whatever they want to people, and it's
yeah,
absolutely ridiculous. And that's the one thing about social media that I hate is that people
yeah,
just it's so easy for the most evil to come out, and you got a cat as your profile picture.
yeah. And so, yeah, so I mean, we're actually out of time, but we can go into a lot of different directions with this about freedom of speech and perseverance and perception and, just dealing with the pressure, not only of sports and being in the media, but just life in general, because we all kind of go through those different types of pressure. But, we got to wrap up. We can't talk about this forever. We could have an Olympics show too, but, after a week, nobody will care about the Olympics anymore. So, um, so
Right.
we can just go ahead and wrap this up. But I do thank you guys. I thank you, my beautiful eldest child, Sequoia, for her opinion. I always, even outside of these types of, my podcast, we do have really good conversations. Which I talked about before, and she will be on another show, I'm sure.
She's
And
already had multiple appearances.
we were talking
I
before. I
feel
don't
like it
remember
was
how many. I know she came on once before, but I don't remember if she came on again.
Well, I was on one for once before, so
Yeah, it probably was just
twice.
that once then. But anyway, I'm really happy that Ron, uh, from this speakeasy came to show to contribute and show some support. I appreciate that a lot. Definitely much more interesting conversation with you here than if you were not. So thank you for that. Um, And again, I want to remind you guys to like and share my social media pages. You can find me on the Speakeasy page, but I also have my own personal page for my show, Outside the Box. I have an Instagram page, a YouTube page, and a Facebook page. You can find out more about my show and different things that I'm doing on that page. I have some things coming up, but I want to go into it now. But if you follow me, then you'll be the first to find out. And also, you guys should check out the mentoring program that I am doing with Dr. Reverend James 10 coming up in a couple of weeks. And make sure you sign up for that. Or if you have any questions about that, feel free to message me and I will give you any information that you need. Besides that, I would give my coach tip for today, but I feel like I was kind of giving them throughout. And so you guys can, and I can't just settle on one, but I talked about, a lot of different stuff. So if you want to know what my perception was about that, you can go through and watch the show. I think that's it. So thank you guys for coming on.
Thank
And
you.
that's it.
the best show to start your week with, Outside of the Box.
Thank you for that, Ron. And I will be back next Monday. I have an interview with a lady named Stephanie Pickney. And she has a a wonderful, deep story about how she deepen her relationship with God and learn more about herself and all that kind of stuff through finding out she had a terminal illness. And so it's going to be very, very interesting. I love this kind of stuff. And I just hope there's enough people out there that like it to tune in. So anyway, tune in next week and for my interview. And that's it. So you guys have a good night. See you next Monday and bye-bye.
Ladies and loyals.